Good morning and welcome to NFTs Live. I'm your host, Tyler D. It is Monday, October 25th, a rainy day in Chicago, but rain is fine. It's easier to stay inside and grind NFTs. We have a lot to cover today, starting with our top news. We're going to hit XCopy's new all-time high, also leading to SuperRare's record-breaking month. We're going to talk HeadDao's buying spree, Fractional Art's big news. Then we're going to go into our standard segments, hit the market update and the IC board. We're going to go around the horn on blue chip PFPs, art blocks, one-on-ones, and talk through a potential bull trap setup that we may be seeing right now. And then we're going to end with upcoming drops. We're going to talk the DoodleLabs new drop and what is to come for that platform. And we're also going to check in on the panels drop from Aries, which is actually going live right now along with us. So that'll be our show for today. But first, a word from our sponsor, IC.Tools. As a beginner in NFTs, it can be very difficult to know where to start looking. There are millions of NFTs out there and literally an open sea of JPEGs. I know I was overwhelmed at first and didn't know where to start. This is where IC.Tools comes in. IC.Tools is essentially an NFT data aggregator that pulls data across NFT marketplace activity and produces visualizations and analytic dashboards in a very user-friendly format to help its users gain an understanding of what to be watching and paying attention to on any given day. Their primary features are trending, discovery, address, and collections watch, along with alerts. Trending is where you can see which projects have the highest sales volume in intervals as short as the past 15 minutes, the daily, or even a 3-day view. You can quickly see where the money is flowing at any given time. I use this information to see both the macro views on the 3-day of which projects are dominating the market, as well as the more micro views to see which projects are catching steam on the hourly to see if I want to jump in or not. I typically have this tab open all day, every day when I'm trading. Discovery is a similar view as trending, but related to projects that are actively minting, so in that very initial sales phase. As folks may have found out, a lot of NFT projects do stealth drops. This dashboard allows you to find those projects which are minting, how fast they're minting, and who's buying them that may not have been on your radar. Their address or wallet watch may be the most powerful feature in the product. This is where you can track wallets like whales or the sharpest traders to see what they're buying and selling. You can also follow a curated list of projects in their favorite collections tab, where you can select a series of projects to watch. I use this information arguably the most in my day-to-day tracking to inform a majority of my trade decisions. Understanding what the sharps are doing is integral to success in NFT trading, and having curated project following allows you to filter out the noise and just track the products that you care about. And they just recently rolled out alerts where you can set up wallet alerts and Discord alerts to get notified when certain individuals are active. So go over to IC.Tools to check it out and start finding your own NFT alpha. They have a free version which provides the trending and discovery info, and then the premium version at 0.03 ETH per month, which unlocks the watching and alert features. All right. Well, thanks to our friends at IC. Let's go ahead and get into our top news story. For today, we're going to talk XCopy, his latest piece, Dankrupt, which he dropped on Saturday. It immediately went into a 24-hour auction, and it sold yesterday afternoon for 469 ETH to Starry Night Cap. Of course, we see meme pricing winning the bid here at 469. Welcome to NFTs. We had some big name bidders in here with, of course, Starry Night. We have Pranksy in the mix, as well as Honorary Ape here. But Starry Night goes ahead and wins this piece, just a classic XCopy piece. And this is now XCopy's all-time high for a primary sale. Of course, we've seen higher on the secondary from some of his earlier pieces, but this is now his new record for a primary purchase. That also pushed SuperRare into their record-breaking month. So I'm going to go ahead and show the Dune Analytics dashboard for all the one-of-one marketplaces here. And we'll see SuperRare is the purple shaded bar chart here. We can see October is their leading month here. They're coming in at over 31 million in sales. It's interesting to see the progression across the year. So March was the previous record for SuperRare. March was peak mania for all of these marketplaces, as we can see. It then dipped, got quiet a bit over the summer, and then has come raging back. Certainly SuperRare dominating all of these marketplaces. And I think their rare token drop and that governance announcement certainly played a big part of that. So be interesting to see what's to come here for the rest of Q4, but it is clear it is one of one season and it has no signs of slowing down. All right, our next news story, we got to talk about HeadDao. HeadDao, ran by Shamdu, famous from crypto Twitter. He's, I think, 16 or 17 years old. So last Sunday, he did a stealth drop of a DAO NFT. It ended up selling out Sunday night. I think it came out of the gate at around 0.2, 0.3 ETH floor. Well, over the weekend, it ripped past a 0.8 ETH floor. And what I'm showing here is some of the acquisitions that the HeadDao that he's made in HeadDao over the past week, and it's pretty astonishing. So just yesterday, they bought a Fidenza and a CryptoPunk, essentially based on all of the secondary volumes that he's had over the course of this weekend, adding to their collection. Earlier in the week, he bought a Genesis CyberKong. I want to say he paid around 110 for this. It's already up 10 to 20% based on some of the market action for the Kongs. He's got some cryptodes in here, Bored Ape, and a Cool Cat, again, along with the two CryptoPunks. So over 500 ETH here in the HeadDao. So certainly, I think the folks who are buying that and actively trying to join the HeadDao see that. They are happy about it. Certainly we're starting to see some FUD as well. Of course, anytime someone's making headlines like this, there's going to be some negative news. A few concerns are, there's really no controls in place, right? As far as I know, there's no smart contracts tying the HeadDao inventory back to the holders of the NFTs. So in theory, Shamdu could run off with these assets at any given time. I'm not saying he would, but that is a risk that's out there. The other FUD here is just related to the valuations. So if you're buying into HeadDao essentially to get a piece of these assets, let's do some quick back of the napkin math. So there's about 500 ETH or so in value in this vault right now. There's 10,000 NFTs or shares. So you're looking at 0.05 ETH per NFT. Well, these are trading at 0.8 and higher. So the valuations are a bit out of whack there. Of course, you can be looking forward to future investments or what's to come, or these potentially going up in the market. But anyone buying in at these price points is overpaying. So certainly be cautious, do the math, do your research if you're looking at one of these. But he's certainly catching a lot of steam and a lot of attention. It's a decent segue to our third news story for today. We're going to talk about fractional art. So I want to say it was Friday, Fractional Art released their big news that now the fractional shares will be able to be turned into tradable NFTs. They updated their token standard. Now they are using, they can turn their ERC 721s into ERC 1155s, and you can trade them on OpenSea and Rarible. So what does this mean? Let's take a step back and kind of talk concepts. So why do NFT owners go to fractional? The idea is you want to get some liquidity back without selling your NFT. So you have a CryptoPunk worth 100 ETH. You don't want to sell it, but maybe you could use 30 ETH, right, to make some new purchases. You put it on fractional, you sell 30% of your CryptoPunk, hopefully to raise that 30 ETH. Well, if the owner takes that 30 ETH, there's now no liquidity for anyone who bought the fractional shares. So what that means is anyone who owns those fractional shares historically isn't going to be able to sell them until the reserve price is met, or if there is liquidity in the pool. So essentially, if the owner keeps the 30 ETH he raises in the liquidity pool, then the fractional owners can buy and sell their shares. But then he has lost that benefit of pulling out, some liquidity from his assets. So that's been the high level struggle. And I think there's been a lot of confusion about that in the market for those going after fractional. Well, this NFT announcement means that even without that liquidity in the pool, individual users can now turn their shares into NFTs and trade them on OpenSea and Rarible. So I'm showing an example from DZ here. He took his Franc Cryptodes NFT, he fractionalized it. He described it here in the thread. So he turned it into 10,000 NFTs, 1155s. He valued them at 0.007 ETH each, which is an implied valuation of 70 ETH, which was the floor for this series of cryptos, which I think is a fair valuation. He also set the reserve at 142.69. So what was interesting is he set the initial price at 0.007. Yesterday, the price for these NFTs on OpenSea at least got all the way up to 0.026, 0.024, which would be an implied valuation of 240 to 260 ETH. Well, that's a big overshot, right? The reserve is set at 142. So that means anyone can buy this NFT for 142 right now. So if you're buying in at 0.024 to 0.026, you're certainly overpaying. Just be mindful of that. Do the math. Sit down before just buying into these things. But with that being said, I think this is huge news for Fractional. I think this is going to go a long way for that user base, and I'm continuing to be excited to see what Fractional has to roll out here. All right. Well, that takes us through our top news. Let's go ahead and get into our segments, and let's cover our market update here, taking a look at the IC board filtered by the last 3 days. We're going to ignore the Shiboshis up top here for now, but the leader here, the Doodles, over 3,200 ETH traded in the last 3 days, about 2x the next NFT on the board. They continue to be kind of dominating the market right now. We saw them surge all the way, I want to say close to 1.92 ETH. They've since retraced a bit. They're around 1.415 here this morning, but certainly holding steady on some big volume. Next, we've got the Creature Toads. We touched a bit on Creature Toads on Friday. They minted Friday afternoon. The reveal was yesterday. Let's go ahead and head over to their OpenSea page. We'll take a quick look at these. They're cute, right? And it's pretty obvious. You can right away see the homage to the Creatures NFT, as well, of course, to the Cryptodes. We saw some interesting market reaction. So pre-reveal, it went up pretty steadily to 0.5, partially due to an action of the founder, Simper Augustus. I want to tell his story really quick. So Friday during the mint out, one bad actor was able to mint 350. There was supposed to be one per wallet. Folks saw this, and then that person listed, of course, and was kind of dumping on the market. It was holding the floor down. Simper Augustus went in and bought 90 from this person to get those out of the inventory. I think the floor was around 0.3 at that time. The market responded very well. It ended up going up to about high 0.4s, 0.5s after Simper did that, showing his belief in the project. Post-reveal, we saw a dip, and then it bounced back. We saw some decent action in the mid-tier and the high tier. I saw several sales in the ones. I think I saw one as high as 6. I wasn't able to catch what the highest sale on the board was. But since then, we have seen some dipping there on the floor down to about 0.26 here or so this morning. So this is going to be an interesting test to see how these derivative and hybrid projects do. So far it's been a pretty similar story for the Chodes, for the Crypto Flies, as well now as the Creature Toads, where pre-reveal they steadily go up. We see a few hours of strong market action, some sales in the high end post-reveal, and then a steady decline. So we'll see if that's going to be the same story here for the Creature Toads, but definitely a cool project to watch. All right, let's round out the rest of the board here. HeadDao, we talked about 1,600 ETH. They're seeing tremendous volume. We got the Alpacas. This was heavily touted in the CryptoPunks Discord. They're sitting at a 0.24 and doing some decent volume. We've got the Kaiju Kings. They're sitting at a 3.4 floor. They went higher than that a bit. Matt Kalish from DraftKings, a huge player in the NFT space, made some high-end buys that caught some attention. Those are certainly holding steady. We've got the Boonji projects continuing to steadily go up. They're sitting around 0.66 this morning on some decent volume. The Jungle Freaks are at 1.34 floor. They're at close to 1,000. And then one new product on the list, the Women in Weapons. This was a new drop. I want to say it came out on Saturday. Gary V minted some of these that caught some attention. They ended up minting out, and they're sitting in the low 0.1s right now. So overall, taking a look at this board, we're seeing fairly steady, slight retracing in these projects here, dominating the 3-day. Let's go ahead and switch and get into our blue chip PFP update. I'm going to start by sharing a tweet from Zeneca that he made Saturday night. So those who, if you're not following Zeneca, he's one of the best follows in the NFT space. He got started by posting the daily floor stats from all the primary projects and PFPs and art blocks. Well, Saturday night he posted the green update. Right, we're seeing 2 green days in a row. Maybe we hit the bottom. I retweeted myself from NFTs Live. We were seeing green. We were getting excited. Saturday night, things were looking good. Sunday certainly slowed down a bit. We saw a bit of the steam head out of the sales. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the floors and what specifically I'm talking about. So I'm going to head over to wgmi.io. Really easy site to see all the floors here. We'll start with the CyberKong's Genesis. They're the biggest winners of the weekend here. They were sitting at as low as 88 on Friday when I did the updates. The floor is up at 135. We saw some big sweeping action. Those are now top PFP on the board. We've got the CryptoPunks. They're sitting at 99 floor here. Again, those on Friday were a bit down from that. They were 93.89 were the floors there on Friday. So those are up. They're about 6-7% from Friday. As we continue to look down the board, we see the Bored Apes sitting at 35. That's up from 29 at the end of last week. Then as we go a little bit lower on the board here, we see Cool Cats sitting in the high 8s, and we see the Cryptodes in the low 6s. Both are up from Friday, but down from peak Sunday. I know that the Toads, which I follow that market very actively, went all the way up to 7.2. I think the Cool Cats went into the 9s. We hadn't seen a bot offer taken for 2 days, which is a really important metric and one I've been following more in the recent weeks. It's a good indicator of kind of market sentiment, if people are hitting those bots or not. We saw those bot offers start to be taken again yesterday when volume started to slow down. So it's an interesting setup. We saw a few days of green. Yesterday was a bit red and some mix across the board. I've got the sentiment that we might be in a bit of a bull trap right now, where we saw a brief peak here, which is actually just kind of a bad signal and what might be a continued decline here. But hopefully I'm wrong. This week will be a very interesting one to watch here. And I do remain cautiously optimistic a bit. So those are blue chip PFPs. Let's go ahead and switch gears and talk about art blocks. I'm going to show their recently sold board here from the weekend. The headlines in art blocks is we've seen some decent action on the high end. The Fidenzas continue to do well. We saw sales at 185, 175, 145, 149. So those are continuing to move at high price points. The DAOs are certainly a driver of that, like HeadDao. We saw a ringer sale at 75. Other than that, just looking at the board, right, one product that jumps out, it's the Squiggles. Squiggles continue to be one of the highest volume movers in the curated set, which of course makes sense. I was scanning the sales feed the other day and I saw Daryl Morey from the NBA purchasing a few Squiggles, so that was a notable buyer. Other than that, We see the sculptures from Peter Pasma continuing to move at a decent clip. The fragments of an infinite field moving as well. And other than that, a bit of movement on the floor. That's in the curated world. In the playground world, we've seen the meridians continue to move. That floor is sitting around 10 and steady. Schwimbuilder had his drop last week in the playground. It minted out at 0.44. It was trading around there, 0.4, 0.5 there for a few days. It's actually up over 1 ETH here over the course of the weekend. And then I've got to talk about the new biggest name and headline in the Art Blocks playground space, and it's Tyler Hobbs and the incomplete control drop. So we previewed this on Friday's show. He did his golden token release. The Dutch auction actually went out at 30 ETH. I thought it was going to go out at 100. So it was actually a great value for anyone who was able to get in there at 30. We've since seen several sales on the floor for incomplete control. So I think it was 5 or 6 between 50 and upper 70 ETH. There's now only 2 tokens left for sale, one at 125 and one at 249. So anyone who bought in at 30 on Friday has certainly seen some equity increases there. It will be really interesting to see how this market continues to play out ahead of the in-person minting in early December. All right, that's our Art Blocks update. Let's go ahead and quickly hit on some other one of ones for our One of Wonderland update for today. I'm going to start by showing a piece from Botto, which is, I want to say, the second highest sale on the board this weekend behind, of course, the XCopy piece that we already showed. This piece is called Asymmetrical Liberation. It was bought by a person tag name of Needs for, let's see here, 79.4 ETH. So a pretty extensive buy here for the Genesis piece of Botto. So we talked briefly about Botto last week on the show. Botto is AI generated art. So the way this works is this AI generates 50 pieces per week. All of the Botto token holders are then able to vote on which piece should go up for auction on SuperRare. And then the proceeds from that auction are then distributed back to the Botto token holders. We saw some interesting price action in the Botto token last week as well. But back to the algorithm, one other interesting piece is the algorithm has a self-learning feedback loop. So it incorporates the voting from essentially the governance council in which pieces get selected as it continues to refine its algorithm over time and what it generates. So certainly a lot of attention on Botto and AI art right now. I see the draw, right? It's really cool. It's brand new. It's the first time we're really seeing AI art on SuperRare, right? I think part of my concern is just the barrier to entry and supply limits. Right now we have a handful of AI artists producing art on a daily, weekly basis. But what about down the line when there's 10 or 100 or 1,000 and they're producing more and more per week? So that's my concerns, but can't argue with the market and the valuation of this piece. So congrats to everyone who's holding Botto. Other than that, I'm just going to run through a few of the other headlines from one of ones. Starry Night Cap continues their buying spree. They're the biggest player right now by far. They bought a piece of Coldy's called All-Time High Euphoria, Choose Your Own Adventure for 26.9. Then a few pieces from Robness Official, one called Oil Melon, which went for 50 ETH, and then one titled All Out of Fucks to .gif for 8. A few other headlines, a piece called White by WLOP sells for 40, and then Punk 6529, another one of the major players in the space, buys a piece called Oasis from Gab Scanu for 10 ETH. That's our one of one update. That takes us through our segments. For our last segment today, I want to touch on an upcoming project and drop here from DoodleLabs. So I'm going to show their website, DoodleLabs.io. I'm going to read a few of their taglines. So limited edition NFT drops from your favorite artists and brands. DoodleLabs is powered by Artblock's generative minting technology. So what does this mean? Essentially, each of the projects are going to have that one of X generative feature. It's going to be using that same source code and tech that enables the Artblock's platform, which so many folks have faith in. So this is the first time now that we've seen the Artblock's tech stack being used for a new project team to bring essentially new projects, new brands into the NFT space. They have their first drop going on here today. It's called the Family MOOCs. If you go to the website and click Mint a MOOC, you can go ahead and read a bit more about it. They talk about the public sale, which actually starts at 1 p.m. Central today, and then it lasts for about 29 hours or so. They had a pre-sale, over 2,200 have sold already. It is an interesting Dutch auction. It's not cheap. So it starts at 1 ETH and then goes all the way down to a resting price of 0.2 ETH. You know, definitely on the high end for a 10K generative PFP. As I understand it, there are going to be perks to anyone who does mint and hold a MOOC, exclusive access to future drops on DoodleLabs, access to merch, a few other things. We've talked a bit about this on the show. I'm always a fan of trying to get in on the first project on a new platform, especially if you believe in that platform. Certainly, DoodleLabs is new, a lot to prove out, but it's certainly a cool idea. Love the fact that it's got the Artblock's hook. I want to show a thread from Snowfro that he posted here late Friday, talking about his thoughts on this project, just to get his sense and another perspective. So he basically says he's very excited about this new partnership. Says that DoodleLabs is totally independent from Artblock's. You know, they'll have their own front end. They're going to have their own artists, which essentially is new arms and legs for Artblock's to be able to use their tech to get out in front of, you know, different groups, different brands, that type of thing, which, you know, certainly they're a limited team. He goes on to say essentially his belief in generative minting, which I thought was the really cool part about this thread, how he feels like it's going to permeate through our society. You know, we've already seen the impact that generative PFP projects and Artblock's have had in this market here in 2021. And he thinks it's going to eventually go on and carry into manufacturing and the design industry, where he talks about minting a generative coffee table or a necklace, the same way you would mint a generative NFT or a squiggle. Thinks that this will be also proliferate in gaming, like generative putt-putt. So when I read this thread, I certainly had a bit of an oh shit moment. The light bulb went on. I've really only thought about, you know, generative art with an NFT mindset so far. So thinking about generative manufacturing and what the possibilities are. Thinking about generative gaming, where, you know, instead of everyone having the same copy of a video game, they've all got slightly different, individualized, unique games. That's a really cool concept. I think the same, of course, applies to furniture, to jewelry. I see the demands. Certainly my perspective may be a bit biased just because I love generative art and generative PFPs, but, you know, I think we are at the very beginning stages of seeing what this tech can do and what it can mean and where it can be applied for our culture and in the retail space. So DoodleLabs is essentially their pilot. And of course, they look to be able to bring their tech out into future partnerships in the future as well. So go ahead and check out that thread from Snowfro as you read about the DoodleLabs project, which is certainly a really cool upcoming project. And I will be taking a hard look at minting that today as well. Other than that, the panels drop, which we talked about last week. It's actually live right now. I'm going to check in to see it minted out during our show. So I'm going to have to take a look at these on secondary. Now that the blocks are minted out, we should be able to be minting the panels. So I'll be taking a look at that right after the show, which is now wrapped up. So that is our show for today. We hit all of our segments. Going to try to start keeping these a bit more concise when it's just me. Good news for listeners. If you're tired of just hearing my voice, we've got my man Skyhook coming back on Friday. He's going to talk through an awesome experience he had in Hawaii with another Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT holder. So excited for him to tell that story and get his perspective on the market. As always, thanks to our friends at IC Tools for sponsoring the show today. If you're looking to get started in NFT trading, you need the right data at your fingertips. IC Tools is a great place to start. Head over to ic.tools to check out their product and use their free version to see which products are trending, the home for NFT alpha. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on Friday at 11. Till then, stay safe in those NFT streets. Goodbye.